father said that was a little bit more of a mystery. Like I knew his name, and I knew that he lived in Fresno, and I knew it and so when she died, when my mother died, by the way, she died in prison.
Oh wow.
She I thought, there's those things that you're putting off. You're like, well, one day I'll do this. Well, one day I'm going to write that book, or I'm going to do that. One day I'm going to. Well, I knew when she died, I was like, okay, that day has come. I have to reach out and find him. I know he's out there. I got to figure out how to find him. And
you made a conscious choice to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is before the internet or whatever, or Facebook. Maybe there was the internet, but like before it was like how it is now.
Yeah, it's social media.
Before this is probably this is like the early 2000s. I knew his name, and I thought, let me just try this. So I looked up when I was home in Fresno. I looked his name up in the phone book. He was there.
Wow!
It was like his first initial, and then his last name, and I thought that's probably him.
As soon as you saw it, yeah.
And also like, I knew he'd been around because he had like he's kind of a character, and he had like a personalized license plate and an old school like car from the 40s,
Mm-hmm.
So people they knew him,
Yeah.
And a very tall guy, and shout out to Pops.
You didn't say Whisper.
Dang it, man.
So did you when you saw the number, when you saw him in the phone book, did you dial it immediately, or you're like, all right, I got to prepare for this. Let me take some time.
Yes. I remember talking to my whisper out to my mother-in-law. she
and you just paused,
and then he just looked up for no reason.
Well, there's a reason she passed away.
Shit. Sorry, man. Sorry. Okay.
For no reason.
No, because
I'm joking.
He just went like that.
I know. I didn't know if I should say R.I.P., but or should I yell that part? R.I.P. God bless her. I love her. So I was really lucky to have like a
support system.
Just like, you said you took in you can't choose your family, but you could choose your friends. Same thing with my wife. I'm lucky I got a great wife and a great family. That became my new family. So my mother-in-law, I remember telling her, like, I go, should I call him? I'm nervous. And she's like, she told me, she goes, well, if he doesn't want to get to know you, it's his loss. And she really built me up. And I was like, you're right. So I remember I called the number, and this must have been a house phone, because he went to the store, and his buddy answered the phone, and he goes, yeah, he'll be back in about an hour. And I told him who I was. He goes, I've heard a lot about you. And that old friend like knew my mom, because he goes, yeah, we used to, he knew her name, and it was interesting,
Wow.
Yeah.
You took you took a little risk, because you could have just said, hey, I'm just an old friend trying to get a hold of him. I mean, you could have not said anything. Because what if that person went, what if it was somebody who's like, he doesn't want to be contacted, and then not give the message, you know what I mean? So that was a little bold as well on your end to go, this is who I am, and I'm trying to get a hold of my dad, you know what I mean?
And what's interesting, and I don't know, I'm sure you'll get to this part of the story, but just conversations that I've had with people, like, he had to be expecting some phone call at some point in his life. He probably just didn't know when it was going to come.
Every time I've talked to him on the phone, he's always like, son, we can't go in the past, and we can only move forward, and until because
you never know. That's why
he always apologizes, like, for the
the past.
But wait, I don't want to cut you. Can you remember that?
Yeah.
The only reason I just want to know. We almost skipped over, unless you were going to get back to it, but I just was curious about that very first conversation. So he comes back in an hour. Does he call you back, or did you call back? The actual speaking to him for the first time.
Okay, I think I may have called him back, and I remember at one point I grabbed a notebook, because I was like, let me write down some information, like
questions you wanted to ask.
All that kind of stuff. And he asked me why I was in town, and I told him that I was in town because I was doing a show the next night.
What town were you in?
Fresno. He was back home.
Oh, you went back home. Okay.
Yeah. Was it the next night? Yeah. Oh yeah, the next night I was supposed to do a show, and then so our plan was like, hey, let's meet for lunch the following morning, like Sunday morning. And he told me some restaurant, like, hey, there's this place on Belmont, blah blah blah. And anyways, long story short, he was too excited, so him and his buddy came and watched my show.
Right.
And that was a weird feeling, to be on stage and you realize.
Did you know they were coming?
Did not know they were coming.
Oh,
but
I mean,
you talked to him, so it dawned on me as I was riffing on stage, like, because there was two guys.
Had you seen him?
Yeah.
You hadn't seen him to that point. No. But when you saw him in the audience, you were like,
okay, I'm leaving a little bit of part of the story out. He was a Hell's Angel, and Yeah, there's a book called Hunter S. Thompson. He has a book called Hell's Angels. So my dad's name is in the book, and so I knew about him, and I knew that, and that's kind of why he was sort of known. Like he was back in the '60s, he was the president of the Hell's Angels,
right? That chapter,
the
right? Fresno chapter, yeah.
And like, in fact, even on YouTube, I saw some like really cool video, like some 20-minute or whatever it was, like on like NBC did an interview with him, but so I kind of knew that he has a look and the whole card, and he's kind of a character. He's a really, affable character. He's not like, but I didn't know any of this at the time. I just heard Hell's Angel. What if he's like a crazy psycho?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who I'm getting. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm opening up a can of worm. I don't know what I'm, you know what I mean? Like,
totally.
Yeah, it's like, but you don't really, yeah. So, because I guess after World War, that's the whole other story about the Hell's Angels back then. But anyway, so when I saw him, basically I was on stage and the majority of the crowd was in their 30s and 20s, 30s, and 40s. And then there was these two guys that looked like they were out of ZZ Top. And I made some joke like that. I go, hey, look at these two guys, ZZ Top over here. And I realized like, damn.
Wow.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Was he smiling? He must have been smiling,
it. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But I didn't know, I didn't know. And then I remember I was like, ooh, don't look at that side of the room for the rest of the set. I remember, yeah.
Look at ZZ Top. Daddy.
He has a red beard. He pulls out a flashlight.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be funny. Yeah, just a blowtorch.
Pocket party.